Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Crisp and refreshing. Room temperature or chilled. A pure water would drink. The temperature by Pure Water is
28 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 26 out west in Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Norige Banton.
In Nationwide News at this hour, Public Services Commission uses Data Protection Act as shield for declining to release DPP salary data.
St. Elizabeth Police sees submachine gun from 7-year-old.
Manchester Police links spate of murders to scamming and overseas players.
Jamaican troops arrive in Haiti.
Integrity Commission says document naming 2 MPs and 1 mayor is fake.
In news from the rest of the world, fuel company managers in Trinidad charged with deaths of 4 divers.
In international news, New York mayor resigns amidst corruption probe.
In headline sports, 9 Jamaicans are down for action on first day of Wanda Diamond League final in Brussels.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, Manchester has been rocked by a surge of violence resulting in the deaths of 5 people in a single week. Commanding Officer for the Police Division, DSP Kerry Duncan, and MP for North West Manchester, Michael Phillips, will join us.
In public opinion at 6:26, we ask, what is your reaction to the spate of murders in Manchester? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio. Message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, this Sunday, the People's National Party is set to have presumably their last annual conference before a general election. We'll hear from public commentator Jermaine Barrett and political commentator Dr. Nadine Spence about their expectations for the conference.
At 7, today marks the 36th anniversary of Hurricane Gilbert, one of the most devastating natural disasters to strike Jamaica. Director of the Disaster Risk Reduction Center at the UA, Dr. Barbara Carby, and Principal Director of the Met Service, Evan Thompson, will take us down memory lane.
All these and more as we take you home on air, on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. This Thursday afternoon, Thursday, September 12, 2024.
News at 5 is brought to you by the new Crunchy Box from KFC. A piece of delicious chicken, 2 hot wings, a biscuit, and Pepsi for only $850. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. The Public Services Commission has cited the Data Protection Act as its reason for declining to provide details of the salary arrangements for the Acting Director of Public Prosecutions, Claudette Thompson, and her immediate predecessor, Paula Llewellyn. Nationwide News submitted an access to information request seeking clarification on how much is being paid in salaries and benefits to the 2 senior prosecutors since Paula Llewellyn stepped aside. But the request has been met with a wall of silence. Siobhan Campbell has more in this report.
Since the Constitutional Court struck down the extension of Paula Llewellyn's tenure in office, the country has had an Acting Director of Public Prosecutions, Claudette Thompson. The Public Service Commission appointed Thompson to act after Llewellyn indicated she would step aside from performing the Public Service Commission appointed Thompson to act after Llewellyn indicated she would step aside from performing the functions of the office following the court's ruling. The ruling has been appealed and the government is awaiting a ruling. Opposition leader Mark Golding and the PNP's legal team have maintained that in their view, The Constitutional Court's ruling means the office of DPP is vacant.
It is highly undesirable that somebody should hold office as DPP in this country, knowing that his or her tenure is a matter of grave concern to the opposition of the country. It is not a good thing for the office of the DPP to be in any way politically contentious. And I think that in light of today's ruling, Ms. Llewellyn ought to stand down and should, not seek to make an effort to continue to hold that off in light of the ruling that the court has made today.
The Attorney General has a different view, but the Public Service Commission has not fully clarified its understanding of Paula Llewellyn's status as Chief Prosecutor, nor has it explained its reasoning for making an acting appointment. It's not clear, for example, whether Ms. Llewellyn remains in office and is on a leave of absence, or whether she has demitted the office completely. It's also not clear whether she's still receiving her full salary or not. Since 2017, the basic salary of the Director of Public Prosecutions has been linked to that of a sitting puisne judge. Since April 1 this year, that sum has been close to $20 million. It's also not clear how much of that sum, if any, Ms. Thompson is being paid to act. Nationwide News sought answers from the Services Commission. Our news center also sought clarity on what basis Claudette Thompson was appointed to act as DPP and the specific reasons given by Paula Llewellyn as to why she was stepping aside and for how long. But in a written response to our news center, Human Resource Information and Development Officer at the Commission, Jacqueline Bell Rowe, denied the request for information. According to Mrs. Rowe, the Data Protection Act prevents the disclosure of the arrangements in place regarding the payments of salaries and benefits to both Ms. Llewellyn and Ms. Thompson. She specifically cited the second schedule of the Act. That section bars the revealing of data processed for the purposes of considering a person's suitability for judicial office. The Commission is also relying on a section of the Act which bars the disclosure of data relied on for management forecasting, especially where that disclosure would be likely to prejudice any other activity. The Commission has not clarified what activities it believes would be prejudiced by revealing if and how much Paula Llewellyn was being paid while she remained out of office and how much her replacement is being paid. It's not the first time the Data Protection Act has been used to block public access to information of national importance. The Act was cited recently when the Tax Administration of Jamaica declined media queries regarding the owners of properties it had spent millions to lease but had yet to occupy. The Office of the Information Commissioner has stressed that the Data Protection Act cannot be used to frustrate transparency. The Act establishes the Information Commissioner as the country's data and information regulator. Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
The St. Elizabeth Police on Thursday seized a submachine gun that was in the possession of a 7-year-old boy at a school in the parish. The JCF made the revelation on social media. Nationwide News understands that the 7-year-old told investigators the gun belongs to his father. The gun, a Scorpion submachine weapon, is carved with the initials J.E. Head of the St. Elizabeth Police Superintendent Coleridge Minto confirmed the incident. However, he declined to say more based on the sensitivity of the case and the age of the child involved. Nationwide News sources say the child and his parent have been taken to the Black River Police Station. The matter has been referred to the Child Protection and Family Services Agency. The gun find follows a recent seizure of over 800 rounds of ammunition in St. Elizabeth less than 2 weeks ago.
Commanding Officer for the Manchester Police, Deputy Superintendent Kerry Duncan, says the recent spate of shootings and murders in the parish is linked to lottery scamming. He says it is also being fueled by persons from outside the parish. DSP Duncan addressed a meeting of the Manchester Municipal Corporation on Thursday.
For all the incidents, when we look at one in particular, that we have persons who are outside of this jurisdiction, persons who are overseas, who stay where they are and influence some things happening in our space. And we saw it playing out in May Day, we saw it in Knockpatrick, we see it up there in No, Christiana is separate and apart from what is happening in central Manchester. So central Manchester has its challenges, right? And like I said, persons who are off our shores, who are influencing things in our space.
Data published by the police indicate that up to September 7, there have been 37 murders in Manchester. That's 8 more than the corresponding period in 2023. There has also been a 29% increase in shootings over the period. DSP Duncan says the crimes are mainly linked to interpersonal conflicts.
So we find that in recent times, some of our known scammers, persons who are involved in lottery scamming activities, are being targeted by some of these persons, shaking them down, and the event that they don't honor the request, they are injured or in some instances killed. And we also know that based on what is happening up in that space, we have persons that operates in southern Trelawney who comes over into our parish and perpetrates some of these offences. So the persons, like I said, and I reiterate that most of these incidents are interpersonal, where persons have conflicts with each other, and that is what is spilling over and is causing what we would consider to be the crime increase within the parish.
DSP Kerry Duncan, head of the Manchester Police, he revealed that the incidents are not concentrated in any one area of the parish. DSP Duncan says, however, that the police have been getting resistance from some communities to implement curfews.
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for Central Manchester, Rhoda Crawford, is also expressing concern over the recent flare-up of violence in the parish. She says the numerous shootings and murders are disturbing.
As Member of Parliament for Manchester Central, I stand in solidarity with my well-thinking and law-abiding constituents and wider stakeholders who are rightly concerned and alarmed at the recent flare-up of violence in the parish. There have been several disturbing incidents of shooting, which has reportedly resulted in 5 deaths in the last few days. And while the fear and anxiety that now grips residents and stakeholders of the constituency is understandable, as law-abiding citizens, we must never allow criminals and those who seek to wreak havoc in our beloved parish to paralyze us or weaken our resolve to stand against lawlessness.
Ms. Crawford is urging citizens of the parish to cooperate with law enforcement to bring the situation under control.
I want to assure constituents and the wider public that the security forces, bolstered by the support from the government, are doing everything in their powers to identify the perpetrators, reassure and safeguard citizenry, as well as restore a sense of safety and normality to the communities as quickly as possible. In the meantime, I urge my constituents and others who may possess information that could be useful to the police to share what they know. And I urge them to exercise caution and heighten their awareness as they move about the parish.
Rhoda Crawford, Member of Parliament for Central Manchester, she was speaking with Nationwide News on Thursday.
The Jamaican security contingent arrived in Haiti on Thursday as part of a multinational mission to help restore law and order amid escalating violence in the French-speaking country. The group, consisting of 20 soldiers and 4 police officers, departed the Norman Manley International Airport minutes after 1 p.m. Deputy Superintendent Adrian Hamilton, who is among the 4 officers deployed, says the team stands ready to provide support to the Haitian forces.
The Jamaica Constabulary Force has a rich heritage of participation in numerous security missions throughout the region across the world. Today encapsulates a seminal moment with the deployment of the CARICOM Joint Task Force Advanced Team to Haiti. It has been a long road. We are proud and confident as a force to be represented among this contingent. We have dynamic capabilities within our team that will support this CARICOM initiative. We intend to use those capabilities to accomplish the objectives that are set out for the mission in Haiti. There are 4 members of the constabulary represented among the Caribbean Joint Task Force for this mission.
Large sections of the Haitian capital, Port-au-Prince, continue to be overrun by gangs following the 2021 assassination of Prime Minister Jovenel Moïse. Nearly 400 Kenyan police arrived earlier this year and are working alongside the Haitian police and military. DSP Hamilton says the Jamaican team will be responsible for providing command, planning, and logistic support.
For the Haitian people, stability for the country is important. So we are going to be contributing at the staff level to ensure that the necessary planning and coordination is accomplished to support the troops that are already deployed to Haiti. We have expertise in intelligence gathering, operations planning and coordination, maritime and aviation advisors, and a plethora of other staff functions that will be expected to execute in support of the operations within Haiti. I believe we are adequately prepared. As I said, that I want to also now thank our local and external and international partners who have come together to ensure that the necessary training over this period will aid the members well once they are deployed.
Deputy Superintendent Adrian Hamilton. You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is
15.
Rent-A-Kill Initial is the expert in pest control, air purification, and hygiene services. Call today 876-926-4236.
The temperature by Rent-A-Kill is
28 degrees Celsius in capital city Kingston, 26 southwest in Montego Bay. Continuing the news, the Integrity Commission, IC, is rejecting as false a document naming 2 members of Parliament and 1 mayor currently being circulated on social media. The IC says the document is on a fake version of its letterhead. In a statement on Thursday, the Commission describes the action as reprehensible, abominable, and repulsive. The Commission says it's guided by Section 53 and 56 of the Integrity Commission Act, which prevents it from commenting on the status of any specific investigation or referral that is related to illicit enrichment. It says, consequently, any circulation which makes a contrary claim or which attributes same to the Commission is categorically fake. The Commission says it operates in full compliance with the Integrity Commission Act and remains steadfast in its commitment to upholding the rule of law. The IC is apologizing for any confusion that the situation may have caused and says it appreciates the public's understanding and cooperation in this matter.
Transport Minister Darrell Vaz has ordered the placement of a doctor and an ambulance at Sangster International Airport while a review of the health and safety processes at the facility is undertaken. The minister made the order following controversy over the death of an elderly man at the airport last week.
I have ordered a review to be done immediately to include the Ministry of Health. And also in the interim, I have instructed AAJ that a doctor should be on call at the location and an ambulance is to be stationary at the Montego Bay Airport with full complement of staff until such time as a review has been completed.
71-year-old Leroy Smith reportedly fell and hit his head before dying on the floor of the facility last Wednesday. It's understood that no ambulance was available to transport him to hospital. Eyewitnesses have accused officials at the airport of seeming preoccupied with who would pay the costs for his medical care. The airport's management, MBJ Airports Limited, has refuted those claims. Minister Vaz says a review of the safety processes at the airport is overdue.
Based on the reports that I've gotten from Airports Authority of Jamaica, which is a government entity that oversees the concessionaires, both at Norman Manley and Montego Bay, that 2003 was when it was established when the concessionaires took over. And I'm at a loss to understand why there has been no annual review based on the increase in passenger and staff complement at MBJ. We are now at approximately 4 million passengers, I understand. And I can't believe that no review has been done.
Darrell Vaz, Transport Minister, he was speaking to the media on Thursday.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Managers of a state-owned fuel trading company in Trinidad and Tobago are facing 15 charges for the 2022 deaths of 4 divers who became trapped in a pipeline while repairing it. The 2 managers of Perea Fuel Trading Company pleaded not guilty to accusations that they violated the Occupational Safety and Health Act. Perea Fuel Trading is a subsidiary of Trinidad Petroleum Holdings. Also charged is the Director of Land and Marine Contracting Services Limited, a company contracted by Perea to repair the pipeline. The charges filed include failure to properly assess risks and failure to prepare and revise an emergency plan. A hearing in the case is scheduled for January.
New York Police Commissioner Edward Caban has resigned a week after federal authorities raided his home and seized his phone. Caban had been in charge of the nation's largest police department for about 15 months. During a news conference on Thursday, New York City Mayor Eric Adams praised Caban's tenure as head of the NYPD. He picked Tom Donlan as the force's new leader.
A short time ago, I accepted the resignation of the NYPD Commissioner, Edward Caban, concluded that this is the best decision at this time. I respect his decision and I wish him well. To ensure crime keeps going down in our city today, I'm taking immediate action in appointing Tom Donlan as interim police commissioner.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams Donlan is noted for helping the FBI's investigation into the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center in New York. Caban's resignation marks the first high-level departure from the Adams administration since federal investigators seized phones from several members of the mayor's inner circle. The subject of the investigation remains unclear.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, Public Services Commission uses Data Protection Act as a shield for declining to release DPP salary data.
St. Elizabeth Police sees submachine gun from 7-year-old.
Manchester Police links a spate of murders to scamming and overseas players.
Jamaican troops arrive in Haiti.
I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Nora Gay Banton.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
News at 5 was brought to you by the new Crunchy Box from KFC. A piece of delicious chicken, 2 hot wings, biscuit, and a Pepsi for just $850. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Drive Hyundai. Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
We've been a part of everyday Jamaican life for over 25 years. From paydays to birthdays, unexpected emergencies to anniversary celebrations, the supermarket checkout line, or paying a bill or taxes on time. Our fast, secure debit network provides reliable service so you can always depend on Multilink. Jamaican and proud, fast, secure, everywhere.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Defending champions Mona and Jonathan Grant were 0-0 at sports time in the Marquis Issa Digicel Manning Cup encounter in Spanish Town. In another update, Jose Marti, they lead Campion College by 2-0. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has signed a new long-term contract that will keep him at the Emirates until 2027. The 42-year-old Spaniard took over the reins at Arsenal in 2019 and has turned around the once Kings of England, finishing second in the last two Premier League title races, both to Manchester City. Last term, they went agonizingly close to lifting the trophy for the first time since 2004 before being pipped by City on the last day of the season. 9 Jamaicans are down for action on Friday's first day of the Wanda Diamond League final in Brussels, Belgium. Stacey and Williams and Stephanie Ann McPherson are amongst the invitees in a 400 meters invitational featuring the 400 meters hurdles world record holder, Olympic champion and world champion Sydney McLaughlin-Livrone. Akeem Blake and Rohan Watson will then face the likes of Christian Coleman and Freddie Curley, along with Akani Simbini in the men's 100 meters. Frederick Dakers will challenge the world champion Daniel Stahl and former world record holder Mikolas Alikna for the Diamond League discus crown. The women's triple jump showdown, which gets off at 1:52 p.m. Jamaica time, will feature the Jamaican Olympic silver medalist Shanika Ricketts and the Olympic finalist Akeelia Smith in action. Jamaica's interest on the first day of the championship ends with a Natoya Gould topping in the women's 800 meters. That is set to go off at 2:40 in the afternoon Jamaica time. CEO of Cricket West Indies Johnny Graves says the politics of Caribbean cricket continues to hold back the organisation. Graves, whose tenure as CEO of Cricket West Indies comes to an end in a month's time, says he's longing for the day when the region can embrace governance reform.
Not just at CWI level, but across the territorial boards too, and get more skills-based boards in and really embrace both the public and private sector. Because for Cricket West Indies to revive cricket in the Caribbean to the level that all fans want, they can't do it on their own. They need the help of supporters and fans to come out. They need volunteers. They need government support. They need private sector support. They need the support, obviously, in alignment with the territorial boards who are doing the hard work locally, and they need parents and kids to want to play cricket and teachers to want to teach it in schools.
Graves says he hopes there can be good discussions over the next few years to continue the work that has already been started.
We live and work in a very competitive world, and England and Australia and India in particular are investing hugely in their cricket systems, and we've got to do the same, otherwise we will get left behind.
Outgoing CEO of Cricket West Indies, Johnny Graves. General Secretary of the Jamaica Football Federation, JFF, Dennis Chung, says he's excited for the start of the 2024-25 Jamaica Premier League season. The new season kicks off on Sunday with 4 games, including a doubleheader at the Tony Spalding Complex. Chung says Professional Football Jamaica Limited, PFJL, and the clubs should be commended for the hard work they've put in to enhance the quality of the local game.
We know it's not always easy, and we've been in a few meetings, we see what happens, but I want to commend the clubs, because this thing cannot work without the clubs. It cannot work without the players, and we've seen what you've gone through, and we know that at the end of it is all success, because we have seen both individual and club successes at not just the local level but the international level. You know, when you look at the Jamaica national team, you see the growth of the local players who have gone on to greater things.
Chung says the JPL has also been enhanced by the work being done by the coaching development program.
We expect that we're going to see much, much greater success at not just the current level of the JPL, but for the future players who are coming on.
General Secretary of the Jamaica Football Federation, Dennis Chung. And talking about the JFF, they awarded regional licenses to 11 clubs participating in this season's Jamaica Premier League. The clubs are Arnett Gardens, Cavalier, Dunby Holden, Harbourview, Montego Bay United, Mount Pleasant, Portmore, Racing, Tivoli, Vere, and Waterhouse. The remaining 3 clubs, Chapelton Maroons, Humber Lion, and Lions United, received domestic licenses, meaning they will not be eligible for the Caribbean Football Union Caribbean Cup or the CONCACAF Caribbean Cup if they finish in the top 3 of the JPL standings. Each club was required to meet the minimum criteria outlined in the 2018 JFF club licensing regulations. This season's achievement of awarding 11 regional licenses marks a significant increase from last year, when only 4 clubs, Arnett, Cavalier, Harborview and Mount Pleasant, received the regional licenses. Club licensing, introduced by FIFA, is a key element in promoting the professionalization of football worldwide. This system is based on principles-driven criteria and establishes minimum standards that clubs must meet to obtain a license and to participate in competitions. The club licensing regulations focus on 5 key areas: administration, sporting, financial, infrastructure, and legal. And finally, in sports at this time, the Spanish superstar Rafa Nadal has pulled out of this month's Laver Cup, saying he believes there are other players who can help the team deliver the win for Team Europe. The 38-year-old Mallorcan has not played since his defeat alongside compatriot Carlos Alcaraz in the quarterfinals of the men's doubles at the Paris Olympic Games in August. A 22-time Grand Slam singles champion, Nadal did not confirm any specific injury or health concerns, but he has previously indicated 2024 would be his last season. The Laver Cup, contested between Team Europe and Team World, starts in the German capital Berlin on September 20. That's it for sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05 this evening.
Can you imagine getting a marketable skill for free? Your government has made it possible for anyone wanting to learn a skill to get free training through the Heart and STA Trust. Learn a new skill and expand your horizons.
The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is...
Yeah, it's 5:30.
Are you burning up with this summer heat? The place hot, man. Get cool now with a Hisense air conditioner. I feel good. With advanced energy-saving inverter technology and whisper quiet operation, beat this heat with Hisense. Available at Aliabra Brands Limited, 64 Hagley Park Road, or call 876-676-5951 now.
So good, so good. I got you.
You good, Mark? No, you know, from where they may have these terrible heartburns. I don't know why. What kind of food you eating? To tell you the truth, you know, I mostly eat fast food. I live alone and I'm too busy for cook my youth. That's your problem. You're eating too much processed food and building up trans fat. Trans fat? What that? Trans fat is a type of fat in a processed foods like fried chicken, fries, donuts, and them things there. So how that cause heartburn? So eating trans fat can cause acid reflux. So if you don't stop eat it or cut back on the amount you eat, things can get worse. Like what? You can get heart attacks, stroke, type 2 diabetes, or even die. But fats and oils not important for eat, my youth. Yes, but the healthy kind in a vegetable aisle, nuts and fish. Okay, no, me go switch up my diet starting today. Just remember to balance it out with your fresh fruits, vegetables, and ground provision.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Jamaica, let's spread the word around to let the world know that we are proud to be one republic. We on the road to republic. Well then, let's propel we nation moving forward in a new direction. True independence, that's the projection. No more dependency, it's the best plan. Yes, we know what's best for us, cause we want we country prosperous. So make we just pull together as the general public while on the road to republic. Jamaica, let's spread the word around to let the world know that we are proud to be one republic. We on the road to republic.
A message from the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs.
We on the road to republic.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Marlon Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
We've been a part of everyday Jamaican life for over 25 years. From paydays to birthdays, unexpected emergencies to anniversary celebrations, the supermarket checkout line, or paying a bill or taxes on time. Our fast, secure debit network provides reliable service so you can always depend on Multilink. Jamaican and proud, fast, secure, everywhere.
Good afternoon. It's 5:35 on today, this Thursday, the 12th of September. Welcome to the Cover Story, listeners and viewers. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis. How are you, Siobhan?
Doing quite well. I know you listeners were used to Mr. Brooks being the one to host today, but there's been a slight scheduling change. I'll be the one here on Thursdays, and Mr. Brooks will be the one here on Fridays. But getting into it, we're going over to Manchester, where the parish has been rocked by a surge of violence, resulting in the deaths of 5 people in a single week. The latest incident occurred late Monday in Knockpatrick. Robin Williams chronicles the series of shootings in the parish.
The bloodletting in Manchester continues. The latest victim, 46-year-old Kevin Brown, was gunned down at a bar in the district of Green Street in Knockpatrick. Reports are that about 10 Monday night, Brown was among a group of people when armed assailants opened gunfire at them. When the shooting subsided, 3 people, including Brown, were found with gunshot injuries. Brown was pronounced dead at hospital. It was a similar incident at a bar in Bottom Albion last Tuesday where 2 men were shot and killed. Dead are 29-year-old Kalu Stoltz, otherwise called Rasta, a resident of Albion, and 44-year-old Henry Brown, otherwise called Iceman, a resident of Barnstable. Reports are that a gunman entered the bar and opened fire around 9:20 p.m. The gunman reportedly stole a bag containing $100,000 before escaping on foot. The following day in Christiana, 27-year-old farmer Romario White was shot and killed at a bar. 2 men reportedly entered the bar. One opened a fire, striking White in the upper body. 2 days later, there was another murder scene in Christiana. A man, 27-year-old Cuthbert Lambert, otherwise called Jerome, was shot and killed at a school gate. Lambert had just dropped off his stepdaughter at Christiana Moravian Primary School. Data published by the police indicate that up to September 7, Manchester recorded 37 murders since the start of the year. That's 8 more people dead when compared to the corresponding period in 2023. Robeanne Williams for Nationwide News.
And meanwhile, residents and business people in Christiana, Manchester say they are fearful following recent murders in the area. A businessman and a pastor, Delmon White, says even the church is being affected as members are afraid to attend night meetings.
The crime and violence is affecting every strand of life. It impacts so much on the church, for example, because once upon a time, as a church community, you could have your night services, you could have your Bible studies, you could have your committee meetings, your ward meetings, and all of that. People feel free to come out and to support all these things because of the crime and violence in and around the community and the nation at large. People are scared. So therefore, when you call these meetings, you find people not readily willing to come out to support them.
That's Delmond White. He's a businessman and pastor in Christiana, Manchester. He says in his community, his neighbor was left traumatized by last Friday's shooting death of 27-year-old Cuthbert Lambert at the gate of the Christiana Moravian Primary and Infant School. White was speaking at a community meeting at the school on Wednesday.
And speaking at a meeting of the Manchester Municipal Corporation on Thursday, commanding officer for the police division, that's DSP Kerry Duncan, says the recent spate of shootings and murders in the parish is linked to lottery scamming. He says it is also being fueled by persons from outside the parish. He joins us now, as well as the Member of Parliament for North West Manchester, Michael Phillips. Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you as always.
Good evening.
Or I should say good afternoon. It's still afternoon. Talk to me, Deputy Superintendent Kerry Duncan. What's the mood like now in the parish?
Right. So, obviously, it is not what we'd want to be at this time. But just to preface the conversation, that we would not want to just look at murder in isolation. That is happening in Manchester. As a police force, we look at our serious crime categories, and we have 7 major crimes listed in that category, to include murder and shooting. And just want to say that when compared to last year, all our other major crimes are trending down, with only murder and shooting showing an uptick at this point. I understand I've been getting the calls, but I would really want to allay the fears of the persons in Manchester that crime is not out of control in Manchester. We have had incidents of murders. I will say it, and I'll be the first to say that one murder is one murder too many. However, the murders that we're seeing in Manchester are interpersonal in nature. So it is persons who are feuding with other persons, based on, as I said today, linked to lottery scamming and being influenced by persons who are even off our shores, right? So it is not to say that it is a pandemic where murders are concerned in Manchester, but they are perpetrated by persons who have issues with other persons.
And Deputy Superintendent, you said the murders are also being fueled by people outside of the parish. Is this to suggest that there is some growing incidence of lottery scamming in Manchester and people are coming outside of the parish to take advantage of that?
I believe so. But when I said persons outside of the parish, I more want to say that there are persons that are off our shores.
Oh, off the island?
Yes, off the island. That are perpetrating some of these incidents of murders. The ones that we speak to in Christiana and some of them in our central Manchester space definitely are linked to the spoils from lottery scamming. We find in recent times that persons who are linked in that trade is now being targeted by other gangsters wanting their share of what the spoils are. And so if they do not hand over, then these are the incidents that we're having. So it is important that we try and implore persons who are so involved in these illicit activities to desist. Because if you continue to do it, then you're going to attract other persons, and these are the end result that we're seeing from these things.
And Michael Phillips, where you sit as MP, are you concerned that the growing lottery scamming in Manchester might be suggesting it's going in the way of St. James of the past?
Well, I can remember as far back as last year, the last 3 years, 4 or 5 years, I've been asking that the police look at Manchester as a special case. I even went and spoke about the proliferation of used car dealerships in the parish, which is unusual unless there's some activity fueling the growth of that industry in the parish, asking for extra resources for the police to carry out their duties within the parish. It is unknown. I mean, we've seen evidence of it in the parish of Manchester, just by the types of vehicles and just the different activities around the parish. So it's not a secret. It's just that in some instances the authorities are just moving slow and late in some instances, but the police in the parish has been able to somewhat keep a lid on the murders. We have been seeing a lot of movements from persons from other parishes coming into the parish of Manchester, and we've been. I know I have been speaking on it for quite a while, but this is just the end result of what we know followed scamming, which is bloodletting. It's unfortunate that a quiet parish like Manchester, this is, the soup said that we are not, the uptick is small, but it is not something. The regularity that we see murders happening over the last couple of weeks in the parish is not something that the parish is used to, and it's driving fear in the residents and the business community itself. I mean, you go into some areas now, they are closing their shops there. If it wasn't, you had a period where shops start closing from 6 o'clock. If you go to Hatfield now, you will see some of the shops, the bars, supermarkets closing from 6, 7 o'clock as it starts to get dark because of the fear of even hold-ups of these establishments. So what is evident is that there needs to be more resources for the police in the parish to be able to keep the citizens safer than they are.
Hold it for us, Michael Phillips and DSP. We're up on a break. Let's take this break and come back.
Clearing personal, non-commercial shipments at the port? Avoid the wait. Request a contactless clearance through your agent today. It's more efficient. It's secure. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
15 minutes to 6.
Upgrade your kitchen and bathroom to the next level with Unique Living. They're the ultimate destination for all your kitchen and bathroom needs, from luxurious shower systems to exquisite faucets, vanities, sinks, toilets, closets, and more. They have it all. Visit shop number 6, 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call them at 876-755-3661. Elevate your space with Unique Living, where quality meets expectations.
If you are 40 and over, CCRP offers a world of benefits. Access to valuable health plans from Sagicor, discounted home and auto insurance from J&GI, and discounts from over 100 retailers and service providers. Enjoy wonderful tours, social events, and much more. Visit our website, ccrponline.org for details. CCRP, life to the fullest.
Drive Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to the cover story. It's 5:47, and we're having a discussion about the concern of a flare-up of violence and shootings in the parish of Manchester. We have with us the commanding officer of the Manchester Police Division, that's the Deputy Superintendent Kerry Duncan, and Member of Parliament for Northwest Manchester, Michael Phillips. Go ahead, Sandra, you had a question?
And just before the break, Michael Phillips, you mentioned that there is need for more resources. What type of resources do you think that the police should get? And also, do you think that you probably want to see more curfews or even ZOSOs in the parish?
Well, I mean, the police they definitely need more vehicles in the parish. I mean, I can speak about even the Cottage Police Station, which is the only police station in my constituency has one service vehicle. I mean, and it has the largest policing area in the country by square miles. And even though it is a quiet town, that roadway from Mile Gully to Balaclava is used by criminals to keep themselves off the main road. Just the normal response of the police, the Cottage police station, just a lack of vehicles in the parish and experienced investigators to assist those that are there that has been doing a fabulous job. But, we tend to wait until these things, get out of hand. They're out of hand before we start to move. And DSP is new to the parish himself. I remember the days of total community policing. No, it is like a battlefield out in some communities. So the type of crimes that you would normally see in the parish of Manchester has escalated to more than what the manpower that they have in the parish can manage. Hence why I said that let us not wait until the thing reached to a case like what Montego Bay was in the past before we start putting the resources to cauterize it. But let us do it now that we know what the problems are before it reached to that state.
And DSP, are you getting the support from those within the communities? Are they coming forward to provide information to the police?
Not as much as we would want to have them coming forward. But just to on a point that Mr. Phillips raised about the one police vehicle, I have to say that we're under-resourced. No, I would not say that. Could we do well with more resources? Of course we could. But we do not look at police stations within our space in isolation. So to say that there's one service vehicle at Cottage Police Station. Cottage Police Station falls within a zone, and that's the northern zone of the parish. And in that space, there are 5 service units. So even though one unit is assigned to Cottage, the units in the northern zone is for everybody in that zone. That includes Cottage, Christiana, and Spalding. Back to your question about...
But just before you go to that, so just to confirm, you have enough resources then. I know you indicated that more is always good, but as you stand now at this current hour, you have enough.
I would say we are quite resourced up in that place. Let me just say that I won't get into a public spat to the DSP about that, and that's why I speak of the size of the policing area. When a crime is to take place in say Comfort Hall, and the closest station from there is Balaclava, if it is not Mile Gully, and if the Mile Gully vehicle is up in Maidstone, there's no response. We have had situations before you even came to the parish DSP where there was a breaking in business places in Mile Gully, and the vehicle was in Oxford. And there could not be any response from Christiana or Mandeville to respond to what has happened. And I'm not... we have always had one vehicle, and I'm saying that the time now is different from it was 5 or 10 years ago in the parish of Manchester. And hence why I said that we need to re-look at the resources in how it is that we're responding to the situation in the parish of Manchester. Now, Patrick is not somewhere where you would hear of the shootings that you're hearing of now, but it is not concentrated in the areas that we would normally hear and see these things happening. It is going outside into the deep rural areas of the parish of Manchester. And so I said we have to relook at how it is that we approach the parish. This is something that we saw growing over time, but it is at this point now where we're seeing the bloodletting following the activities. So they can't do things the same way and expecting a different result is what I'm saying. And I'm asking that the authorities that may be, and to give you the resources to cauterize it before it becomes any worse than it is.
We're limited on time, gentlemen, but there was something that Mikhail brought up that I don't want to be lost. You spoke to the proliferation of used car dealerships in the parish, and what you said, a certain type of vehicle. I'm not directly quoting you, but I think that's what you said. So I want to put that to you, DSP. Is the police concerned about this proliferation of used car dealerships and its potential links to criminal activity in the parish?
Indeed we are. But we would not want to stereotype used car dealerships any at all, because we know that we have legitimate business persons. But these are some things that we have been looking into. Our FID and our LSTF have also been engaged in these regards to treat with them. But just to make another point against that, is that when we talk about bloodletting and the murders in Manchester, we have employed a significant amount of strategic strategies to treat with murders, right? However, I'll tell you that sometimes they do fall through the cracks, and we have them. But what I can say to you also is that when we have incidents of murders, our detectives in Manchester are so meticulous that even at this point, we're boasting close to 80% clear up in our murders in Manchester, right? So where we have the incidents, the investigators are doing their job, and persons have been arrested. We speak also about the murder over there in Knockpatrick. And on the same night of the murder, our operational machinery was brought into play, and we picked up some individuals. And I am confident that these persons will be charged for that murder and other murders that occurred within that space.
But DSP, there seems to be, though, a disconnect, because you listen to those in the parish. We played a clip from a pastor who is saying his members are not coming out because they're fearful. You hear the MP indicating that, look, individuals are closing businesses early because of the fear. You are telling us that the police have it under control, but what we are hearing from those in the parish is different from what you are saying. So there is a disconnect.
But I'm saying that most persons who speak from the standpoint of where they are. I am speaking from the standpoint of the parish. So I am saying that we are not chronic. We're not suffering. We're not going through a pandemic where crime is concerned. Like I said, we have incidents of murders, but they are mostly interpersonal. So it's not like we're seeing where we're having robberies and then we're having murders emanating from them or anything like these. These are interpersonal things where persons have their own conflicts, and this is the way that they decide how to treat with them. We, on the other hand, we know who most of these players are, and we are far advanced. We are far advanced in characterizing what is happening now in Manchester.
And Michael Phillips, would you accept that as a fair point from the DSP, that this may seem like a huge this may be a problem in terms of perception from someone who lives in the parish and yes, is rightfully fearful, but that they may see the problem as larger than it actually is?
Well, I mean, as long as I've been in the parish, I mean, the murder rate has been held to a certain level, and as I said before, the policemen and women that work within the parish have been working hard to keep it that way, to keep the numbers low. We have had our fair share of top hold-up and other issues, dealing with that affect businesses and families. But I will give the DSP a chance to show his worth within the parish. I know he's been working hard, and I know the team has been working hard. But again, I still call for his seniors at the commissioner's office and command to give some more resources to the parish of Manchester. It is needed. I mean, as I said, it is not normal times. It may seem like nothing to the DSP, but I can tell you there is fear going through the parish because of how close behind each other each of these murders, and because of the type of murders that have been taking place. There is fear going through the parish.
And do you think from the government standpoint now, Michael, and when I say of government and opposition, you being the MP for one section of the parish, that there needs to be some other form of intervention within the area to assist those within the communities?
Well, I've always had I still do. I hope a good relationship with the police and the parish. I mean, the last time we had any issue in my own constituency, I organized a walk through on more than one occasion with the commanding officer of the parish then, walking through with the police, doing including them in activities in those same communities, So it is, I think that we do work closely. I would love to see my other colleagues, parliamentarians, where we come together. We have done it in the past, coming together and dealing with the whole issue of crime and showing one unity as a parish to deal with the whole issue of crime, because this is not just affecting one community or two, but I mean it affects the whole parish.
And DSP, I hear Michael indicating that you're relatively new to that division. How long ago have you moved to that area?
I took command of the division in March of this year. Still feeling my way around, but I have a very good support staff in Manchester, and the energy is high. And I just know. All I'm asking at this point is that our most important stakeholders, which are the citizens of Manchester, to just partner with us. And I am so confident that whatever is happening in Manchester now will be cauterized in short order. I am very confident of that.
We have to leave it there. Thank you, as always, Deputy Superintendent who is the commanding officer at the Manchester Police Division, Kerry Duncan, and the Member of Parliament for North West Manchester, Michael Phillips. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, sir.
The news at 6 comes your way next.
Cover Story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is...
a minute after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Commanding Officer for the Manchester Police, Deputy Superintendent Kerry Duncan, says the recent spate of shootings and murders in the parish is linked to lottery scamming. DSP Duncan addressed a meeting of the Manchester Municipal Corporation on Thursday.
For all the incidents, when we look at one in particular, that we have persons who are outside of this jurisdiction, persons who are overseas, who stay where they are and influence some things happening in our space. And we saw it playing out in May Day. We saw it in Patrick. We see it up there in Christiana is separate and apart from what is happening in central Manchester. So central Manchester has its challenges, right? And like I said, persons who are off our shores, who are influencing things in our space.
DSP Duncan says the crimes are mainly linked to interpersonal conflicts.
So we find that in recent times, some of our known scammers, persons who are involved in lottery scamming activities, are being targeted by some of these persons, shaking them down, and the event that they don't honor the request, they are injured or in some instances killed. And we also know that based on what is happening up in that space, we have persons that operates in southern Trelawney who comes over into our parish and perpetrates some of these offences. So the persons, like I said, and I reiterate that most of these incidents are interpersonal, where persons have conflicts with each other, and that is what is spilling over and is causing what we would consider to be the crime increase within the parish.
DSP Kerry Duncan, head of the Manchester Police. The St. Elizabeth Police on Thursday seized a submachine gun that was in the possession of a 7-year-old boy at a school in the parish. Nationwide News understands that the 7-year-old told investigators the gun belongs to his father. Head of the St. Elizabeth Police, the Senior Superintendent Coleridge Minto, confirmed the incident. Nationwide News sources say the child and his parent have been taken to the Black River Police Station. The Jamaican security contingent arrived in Haiti on Thursday as part of a multinational mission to help restore law and order in the French-speaking country. The group consists of 20 soldiers and 4 police officers. Deputy Superintendent Adrian Hamilton is among the 4 officers deployed.
The Jamaica Constabulary Force has a rich heritage of participation in numerous security missions throughout the region across the world. Today encapsulates a seminal moment with the deployment of the CARICOM Joint Task Force Advance Team to Haiti. It has been a long road. We are proud and confident as a force to be represented among this contingent. We have dynamic capabilities within our team that will support this CARICOM initiative. We intend to use those capabilities to accomplish the objectives that are set out for the mission in Haiti. There are 4 members of the constabulary represented among the Caribbean Joint Task Force for this mission.
DSP Hamilton says the team will be responsible for providing command, planning, and logistics support.
For the Haitian people, stability for the country is important. So we are going to be contributing at the staff level to ensure that the necessary planning and coordination is accomplished to support the troops that are already deployed to Haiti. We have expertise in intelligence gathering, operations planning and coordination, maritime and aviation advisors, and a plethora of other staff functions that will be expected to execute in support of the operations within Haiti. I believe we are adequately prepared. As I said, that I want to also now thank our local and external and international partners who have come together to ensure that the necessary training over this period will aid the members well once they are deployed.
Deputy Superintendent Adrian Hamilton. The JLP's candidate for Northeast St. Anne, Matthew Samuda, is accusing the opposition of rallying support for independent candidate David Fritz Anderson. Mr. Anderson was among the 3 candidates nominated on Wednesday to contest the September 30 by-election. The PNP has decided to boycott the election. Speaking with Nationwide this morning on Thursday, Mr. Samuda alleges that Mr. Anderson's nomination as an independent aspirant is an illusion to rally PNP support.
The greatest risk to this campaign is that anyone takes it as a foregone conclusion. There is an illusion of independence of the independent. The opposition is actively working to support that candidate, and I will have to ensure that my voters, which there are more persons that would support me than a PNP candidate in the constituency, but that more of them show up to ensure that you win and win convincingly, because there is no independence in the independent.
According to Mr. Samuda, Mr. Anderson had previously applied to represent the parish on a PNP ticket.
You would appreciate that he had applied previously in the past to represent St. Anne's Bay for the People's National Party. If you would look at those who would have nominated him, they're well-known political workers of the People's National Party in the constituency. We also know the nature of Jamaica is small, right? You know who meets who, where, and who is discussing what with who. So ultimately, there is a thin line or attempt to try and separate it, but there is support from the People's National Party.
Matthew Samuda, JLP candidate for Northeast St. Anne. Meanwhile, Mr. Anderson denies any affiliation with the PNP.
I would like to ask you, do you have any affiliation to the People's National Party in any way?
I don't have any affiliation to the People's National Party.
Who is funding your campaign, Mr. Anderson?
Well, there are groups, different groups from Miami, Jamaica, and London.
David Fritz Anderson, independent candidate for Northeast St. Anne. The National Works Agency NWA is advising that the Bogwalk Gorge in St. Catherine is now impassable. The road is flooded with water now flowing over the flat bridge. According to the NWA, the flooding is associated with heavy rain that has been impacting the country over the past 3 days. The NWA is urging road users not to attempt to use the road through the gorge at this time. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Sports is next.
We are the best at what we do. At Hose Assembly and Supply Limited, we supply hose fittings and tools. We guarantee we can't be beaten when price and quality are combined. You brand us the hose and tool boss because we deliver the most effective industrial solutions. Come in and experience the joy of shopping with Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. Call us 876-923-3936 or visit 173 Hagley Park Road, 2 Charlesworth Crescent or Montego Bay Trade Center. Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. More than just hoses. Now open every Sunday.
Pack it on a budget, so me reach KFC. New crunchy box meal. That for me a piece of chicken, 2 wings, biscuit, and a drink. Crunchy box of the flavor, so we make the lid. Value for your money, flavor and the taste. KFC, crunchy box run the place. So much variety, the box now no space. KFC, crunchy box run the place.
Crunch your craving with the new KFC Crunchy Box. A piece of delicious chicken, 2 hot wings, biscuit, and Pepsi for only $850. KFC, it's finger licking good.
My Mega With so much to do in one location, make Megamart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills, fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Megamart, the best value by far.
Good evening with your sports report. I am Alex Raby. We kick things off with some football as defending champions Mona secured their second win from as many starts in this season's Issa Digital Manning Cup competition after beating Jonathan Grant 1-0 in their marquee encounter in Sandstone this afternoon. Robina Gordon scored the winner for the champions on 75 minutes as they move clear of Group B with maximum 6 points. Meanwhile, Hosamati and Campion College drew 2-2 and Tarrant whipped Gainstead 7-0. The match between Edith Dalton James and Tivoli Gardens did not play as the field at Edith Dalton was not prepared. Tivoli was awarded 3 points and 3 goals. In water, the Costa Cup results, St. Mary Technical beat Iona 1-0 and Wycliffe Martin beat Horace Clark 3-1. General Secretary of the Jamaica Football Federation, JFF, Dennis Chung, says he's excited for the start of the 2024-25 Jamaica Premier League JPL. The new season kicks off on Sunday with 4 matches, including a doubleheader at the Anthony Spalding Complex. Chung says Professional Football Jamaica Limited, PFJL, and clubs should be commended for their work in enhancing the quality of local football.
We know it's not always easy, and we've been in a few meetings, we see what happens, but I want to commend the clubs because this thing cannot work without the clubs. It cannot work without the players, and we've seen what you've gone through, and we know that at the end of it is all success because we have seen both individual and club successes at not just the local level but the international level. You know, when you look at the Jamaica national team, you see the growth of the local players who have gone on to greater things.
He says the JPL has also been enhanced by the work being done by the coaching development program.
We expect that we're going to see much, much greater success at not just the current level of the JPL, but for the future players who are coming on.
Dennis Chung. The Jamaica Football Federation, JFF, awarded regional licenses to 11 clubs participating in this season's Jamaica Premier League. The clubs are Onyx Gardens, Cavalier, Dunby Holding, Harbourview, Montego Bay United, Mount Pleasant, Portmore United, Racing United, Tivoli Gardens, Vere United and Waterhouse. The remaining 3 clubs, Chapton Maroon, Umber Lion and Mullines United, received domestic licenses, meaning they will not be eligible for the Caribbean Football Union, Caribbean Cup or the CONCACAF Caribbean Cup if they finish in the top 3 of the JPL standings at the end of the season. Each club was required to meet the minimum criteria outlined in the 2018 JFF club licensing regulations. This season's achievement of awarding 11 regional licenses marks a significant increase from last season when only 4 clubs, Arnott Gardens, Cavalier, Harbourview and Mount Pleasant, received regional licenses. Club licensing, introduced by FIFA, is a key element in promoting the professionalization of football worldwide. This system is based on principle-driven criteria and establishes minimum standards that clubs must meet to obtain a license and participate in competitions. The club licensing regulations focus on 5 key areas: administration, sporting, financial, infrastructure, and legal. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has signed a new long-term contract that will keep him at Emirates Stadium till 2027. The 42-year-old Spaniard took over the reins at Arsenal in 2019 and has turned around the once King of England, finishing second in the last 2 Premier League title races, both to Manchester City. Last term, they went agonizingly close to lifting the trophy for the first time since 2004 before being pipped by City on the last day of the season. Now to athletics, as 9 Jamaicans are down for action on Friday's first day of the Wonder Diamond League final in Brussels, Belgium. Stacey Ann Williams and Stephanie Ann McPherson are among the invitees in a 400 meters invitational featuring 400 meters hurdles world record holder Sidney McLaughlin-Lavrone. Akeem Blake and Rowan Watson will then face the likes of Christian Coleman, Fred Curley and Akini Simbini in the men's 100 meters. Frederick Dakers will challenge world champion Daniel Stahl and former world record holder Mikolos Alekna for the Diamond League discus crown. The women's triple jump showdown, which gets off at 1:52 Jamaica time, will feature Jamaica's Olympic silver medalist Shanika Ricketts and Olympic finalist Achilles Smith. Jamaica's interest on the day ends with Natalia Gould-Toppin in the women's 800 meters, set to get off at 2:40 Jamaica time. World Athletics recognizes the emphasis and essential role of journalists. During the World Athletics Under-20 Championships Lima 24, 12 young reporters participated in the Media Development Program, an immersive experience designed to develop journalists specializing in athletics. This unique program combined intensive theoretical and practical training, informing the reporters' perspective on the sport and adding valuable expertise to their careers. Journalists from Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Panama, Peru, Uruguay, and Venezuela came together for the World Under-20 Championships and engaged in extensive and enriching sessions with presentations, examples, and discussions, all while enjoying a privileged view of the track. And now to cricket, as CEO of Cricket West Indies, CWI Johnny Grave, says the politics of Caribbean cricket continues to hold back the organisation. Grave, whose tenure as CEO of CWI comes to an end in a month's time, says he's longing for the day when the region can embrace governance reform.
Not just at CWI level, but across the territorial boards too, and get more skills-based boards in and really embrace both the public and private sector. Because for Cricket West Indies to revive cricket in the Caribbean to the level that all fans want, they can't do it on their own. They need the help of supporters and fans to come out. They need volunteers. They need government support. They need private sector support. They need the support, obviously, in alignment with the territorial boards who are doing the hard work locally, and they need parents and kids to want to play cricket and teachers to want to teach it in schools.
Grave says he hopes there can be good decisions over the next few years to continue the work that was started.
We live and work in a very competitive world, and England and Australia and India in particular are investing hugely in their cricket systems, and we've got to do the same, otherwise we will get left behind.
Johnny Grave. Now on to tennis, as Rafa Nadal has pulled out of this month's Laver Cup, saying he believes there are other players who can help the team deliver the win for Team Europe. The 38-year-old Spaniard has not played since his defeat alongside compatriot Carlos Alcaraz in the quarterfinals of the men's doubles at the Paris Olympics in August. A 22-time Grand Slam singles champion, Nadal did not confirm any specific injury or health concerns, but he has previously indicated 2024 would be his last season. The Laver Cup, contested between Team Europe and Team World, starts in Berlin on September 20. And finally, in badminton, event coordinator Brianna Burke is expecting some strong competition at the inaugural Jamaica Badminton Academy Shuttle Showdown tournament. The tournament is set for the YMCA over 2 weekends, September 14 to 15 and September 21 to 22. Burke says there will be a good mixture of youth and experienced players on show.
We were very surprised by the turnout. We're very happy to see, persons coming back. We see older members who we haven't seen on the badminton scene in a while entering. So, we're looking forward to allowing them to hone their skills, to come back and just showcase what badminton really is about. We also have players who have not been in Jamaica for a while, coming out to play this tournament. So, yeah, a lot to look forward to. A lot of surprises, but a lot to look forward to.
She says athletes will be placed in 3 categories.
So we have the divisional categories where athletes will play against their divisional level. So that will be A to D, A being the more advanced and D being the less advanced. We also have age group categories where we'll have play from under 9 right through to under 15. So that will include under 11, under 13 and under 15. And then we have the beginner category where if you've only played one tournament, they would have entered that tournament, or never played a tournament before, they'd get that opportunity to enter in that category.
Brianna Burke, I'm Alex Ribby, and that's your sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:19.
Tell them cut the plastic.
See our one country we have, and we have to preserve it for future generation. The government had to feed them part with phase 4 of the ban on single-use plastic. That mean me won't get me lunch in a plastic container, and me so I gonna stop use certain cosmetic personal care items. Boy, big changes. But we want me picking them to enjoy this country, so me go all in a phase 4. Support the ban.
A message from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation.
Here's to the early risers, and we are here all-nighters. The go the extra milers, and let's do it until it works. Workers. People who are powerful because they power through day after day, challenge after challenge. You see, true power, it's not something you can buy or collect. It is something that starts on the inside, and you always know it when you see it. Sunshine Snack Peanuts. Proud supporters of the powerful.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Roby Ann Williams. A special good evening to our friends on our YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. We invite you to weigh in live in the comments section on today's Public Opinion. It's an item of news that we've been following. In Manchester, commanding officer for the parish, Deputy Superintendent Kerry Duncan, says the recent spate of shootings and murders in the parish is linked to lottery scamming. Now, he says it is also being fueled by persons from outside the parish, and he addressed a meeting earlier today of the Manchester Municipal Corporation.
For all the incidents, when we look at one in particular, that we have persons who are outside of this jurisdiction, persons who are overseas, who stay where they are and influence some things happening in our space. And we saw it playing out in May Day, we saw it in Patrick, we see it up there in Christiana is separate and apart from what is happening in central Manchester. So central Manchester has its challenges, right? And like I said, persons who are off our shores, who are influencing things in our space.
All right, that is DSP Kerry Duncan, commanding officer for the Manchester Police Division. Data published by the police indicate that up to September 7, there have been 37 murders in Manchester. That's 8 more for the corresponding period in 2023. So things in Manchester needs, not looking so good at all. 5 people killed in one single week. Yeah. So in public opinion this evening, we're asking, what's your reaction to the spate of murders in Manchester? That's what we're asking you. So our YouTubers, feel free to weigh in the comments section on today's public opinion. Manchester kick up a storm. On our Facebook platform, Christopher Isaac says people or residents minding their own business too much. Civil society needs to be more inquisitive of those we don't know. Christopher Isaac says socializing has become a thing of the past. No longer can one sit comfortably to have a sip and chat in Mandeville environs. And I want for you to know that the majority of the incidents last week where 5 people were shot and killed and some others injured, but we're talking about the 5 shot and killed. About 3 of those incidents happened at a bar. There was one incident where the assailant took $100,000 from the bar. So, me don't know, in a safe at all. Christopher, Natalie Winter saying it's a sad situation. Fabian saying the government should send out the soldiers to go after the criminal them. Drastic times call for drastic measures. And I know that people would agree to some extent with Fabian Smith here. All right, let me see if I can go to the comments on our X platform where Christopher Clark says, I sympathize with the people of Manchester so much for sleeping with your windows and doors open. It's symptomatic of a failed security plan. Donna Mealy is saying, goes to show that this SOE ZOE, MOE, POE isn't as effective as it's made out to be. But there's not a state of public emergency in Manchester. I should make that clear. But I see what you're saying, Donna Mealy. Rowan Bailey is saying reckless policing, leaving the most dangerous road from South Clarendon, the Pusey Hill Pass without a checkpoint, making easy and safe access for criminal in Greater Manchester. Loud bike blare daily on the main road from Descartes to Valley. Police asleep in Manchester. That's coming from Rowan Bailey. Yeah. Mr. Unpredictable, is saying that people need to stop hugging up criminals and giving them safe haven. Let them run and keep running. Reward for the life they choose. They have them as saviors and support tit for tat. If each side turn in their own, there can be a significant reduction. Lazy big spenders. Yeah? Master Mark said, them a get wicked, politically motivated, drive up the crime rate so a certain. All right, okay, that sounds like politics there, and we're not talking about politics. We're not talking about politics today, although you would have some that would say it's all connected. Shaz says people need to speak up, and I must agree that the informer culture, we need to set aside that informer culture. Let me see. Humble Beginning says unsatisfactory. 80 King Kaz is saying crazy. I can't see how crime is down. And Nicole Whitaker is saying crime down. And Shambhala, same as before. Not surprising. Greenvale has been an eyesore for decades, and the powers that be don't want to change the community because it keeps them in power. Okay, that's coming from Shambhala. These are not the views of Nationwide 90 FM. These are the views of the people. We're inside the court of public opinion, and the question we're putting to you: 5 people dead in Manchester in a single week. There were also incidents of break-ins, and I recall at least 2 incidents where licensed firearm holders, they had to fire shots to ward off or to send a warning to these criminals wreaking havoc, breaking into their place. You can imagine you have your own place and people are broken out to come take your things. I know you want them bite, but them are broken out for come take your things. Wow. So the question we're asking, what is your reaction to the spate of murders in Manchester? Let me see if I can get some of the comments on our YouTube platform. Winston Allen says, if people talk. Yeah? Let me see if I can get in some more. Daryl TCI says, please let us try to be as one way or put she as... Oh, is that okay. I don't think that's related. But Delroy, good afternoon to you. Let me see. CJ Martinez, it's getting worse. I had to lock up early. And that's what I think a clergyman was saying, That's what the clergyman was saying. These criminals, they make it so bad that people not even want to come out for go to church. D Muse is saying these incidents are more than the eyes can see. Too much who are in authority are also consumed in this dilemma. All right. Donna Llewellyn says, as the policeman who heads that division says, most of these cases related to their personal life. Well, he did also say, I must point out, he did also say that the crimes are mainly linked to interpersonal conflicts. Yes, he did say that. Let me see if I get in some more comments on this one. I'll scroll up. Kirk is saying that data is king. So are informers. And I think we've come a long way from the informer for dead culture. Baby Toy says, one day the government have to make a plan for overseas help. Roy Riley says, at what time could Jamaica sleep with their windows and doors open? That was in the 60s. Yeah? And Bali is saying that citizens must tell the police what they know. It can't go no other way, no. As a very a very famous person would say, what can go so? It can't go no other way. It cannot go no other way. The citizens need to speak up. Say what you know. We without you, the police can't rid your own community of these criminals. Baby Toy says, I think this crime thing here is calling for international help. Yeah? Wow. And on that point, we must say that 24 of our brave men are in Haiti at this point in time. 4 police officers and 20 members of the JDF, and we send them our support. Well, I send my support. I, for one, send my support, and we pray for their safe return. Talk about bravery on display. McHugh is saying it highlights the urgent need for effective law enforcement, community support, and social intervention programs to address the root causes of crime. Cynthia Matheson says, may God help us. Mandeville was so safe and nice. We just have to pray. The heart of man is desperately wicked. Yeah? Wow. And also to backtrack on an item that we read earlier today, a 7-year-old boy with a submachine gun. Just remember that when you're in 7th grade, yeah? When you're in 7th grade, when you're 7 years old rather, that's 1 grade, a grade 1 that. Grade 1. So just imagine what's happening there. I just don't know. Iron Lady said, they make we not talk about this murder thing every day at the PM. Man name me a ear on the radio. Oh boy. Well, Iron Lady. CJ Martinez says, major shooting incident just happened. Oh, we have to check that out, CJ Martinez. We'll have to check that one out. Thank you for that one. All right, let me see. Philip Jackson, greetings to you. Greetings to you. I didn't see that, Philip Jackson. I didn't see it. Oh, boy. All right, don't come at me, Philip Jackson. You know I always read your comment. If you're just joining us, we're inside the court of public opinion. We're asking you about the situation in Manchester. Yeah? It's not a very good one. It's not a good one any at all. Precious Soul say, and then blame the PM. Wow. But yes, we end on this note. If you know something, say something to the police. It starts with you, and ridding these criminals out of your community should be paramount. Thank you guys so much for participating in public opinion this evening. Do stay tuned for the business report.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:32. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Mayberry Investments Limited has announced that its 10.75% secured bonds due to 2026 have been oversubscribed. Now, as a result, Mayberry Investments Limited's board of directors made the decision to close the subscription period ahead of schedule. The offer officially closed on September 10, 2024. At 4:30 p.m. Mayberry Investments Limited says the overwhelming response from investors reflects strong confidence in the company's financial investment offerings. It says the basis of allotment for the 10.75% secured bonds will be made available on the Jamaica Stock Exchange's website in due course. Further afield, UK national debt is on course to treble over the next half a century due to several pressures. That's according to the government's official forecaster. Those pressures include an aging population, climate change, and rising geopolitical tensions, the Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR, said in a report. The OBR said without extra tax revenues or a return to post-war productivity levels, the public finances were not sustainable over the long term, and something has got to give. Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Darren Jones, said the OBR has laid bare the shocking state that the public finances were left in by the previous government. And finally, in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 158 Jamaican dollars and 50 cents to buy $1 US, 207 Jamaican dollars and 10 cents to buy 1 British pound, and 117 Jamaican dollars and 97 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
On Sunday, August 11th, in the quiet community of Cherry Tree Lane in Clarendon, our entire nation was shaken by a brutal act of violence.
Gangsters mercilessly took the lives of 8 innocent Jamaicans, including a 7-year-old boy.
These criminals will strike again, destroying more families and more communities unless we stand together to stop them.
If you have any information that can help bring these killers to justice, please share it with the security forces.
The government has established a reward fund of $25 million for information leading to the arrest and charge of the perpetrators who committed this heinous act.
The facilitators who supply them with the arms, intelligence, and the transportation.
And those who harbor and protect these criminals after the crime.
If you know something, say something.
Call Crime Stop at 311, MOCA at 888-6622-847, the NIB at 811, or JDF at 837-8888.
Together,
we
will defeat the gangs
and develop a culture of peace in our country.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path, unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Marlon Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Nation's Business is brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Welcome back to Nationwide at 5. We are inside the nation's business. My name is Sanjay Lewis. My co-host is Siobhan Campbell. And we are turning our attention to the People's National Party. They are having their annual conference over the weekend. And it's set to have their 86th annual conference on Sunday. And it's presumably their last conference before a general election is called. The next general election is constitutionally due in September of next year.
During the conference on Sunday, representatives of the party are set to deliver speeches addressing the current state of the nation. The party says their president, Mark Golding, is also set to outline the party's vision for the country and make the case as to why they should form the next government. Well, this evening we're being joined by political commentator Dr. Nadine Spence and a public commentator and founder and executive director of Jamaican Association for Debating and Empowerment, that's JADE Limited, Jermaine Barrett, to hear their expectations for the conference. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good evening, rather. My apologies. Good evening.
Good evening.
So, Dr. Spence, let's start with you. What are your expectations from the People's National Party's 86th annual conference this Sunday?
Well, if you had asked me last week, I would have said, the PNP have put out two polls that they have, been talking about the results of those polls, which put them over 5 points ahead of the Prime Minister of the Mark Golding's favorability rating, higher than the Prime Minister's and the PNP ahead of the JLP. And this has been their talking point, right? Mm-hmm. And I would have said, they are going to be digging their heels in on the issues related to the Integrity Commission and the matter of the Prime Minister's unverified financial records, etc., etc. I would have pointed to some of the things that would have been trending, the conversation point that has been on the lips of the PNP for perhaps the last year or so. But I'm not sure how to respond, given what this last week in the news has been, given the leaked reports from the Integrity Commission, given what has happened with the diaspora grouping, which had the backing of the PNP and their attempts at, some people would say, embarrassing the government on the international scene. Given this week's election, I'm not sure how to assess the PNP's mood going into this conference. Not this week's election, given the nominations this week. I think a lot of, well, certainly for me, it's a lot of thinking through, what potentially could the response to what this new week of news has been. What could that response be? Is the PNP going to be digging their heels into the narrative that they had been holding on to, or are they going to be on the defensive? Are they now going to go into conference having to defend themselves, given what the stories are that have emerged this week in the media? So I'm not quite sure what the talking point will be. It's whether or not they totally ignored what happened this week and go on with business as usual in respect of what has been on the agenda for the last year or so, or whether or not they decide to respond to what would have been not a good news week for them.
And that's what I want to pick up from Jermaine, because given the information that was made public by Nationwide, should the People's National Party continue on that same trajectory to talk about the Prime Minister's statutory declaration not being certified, or should they switch focus to something else?
Well, absolutely, they must. The conference is held at a time when, we've had the leaked report, and the leaked report seems to, in a weird kind of a way, vindicate the Prime Minister. It has been much ado about nothing, and of course, we've had a lot of chatter, castigating the IC, rightfully, wrongly so. But also, subject to some castigation is the People's National Party, because they have really gone hard in terms of pushing the narrative about the Prime Minister being corrupt and leading a party that is corrupt and bad for Jamaica. Well, the most recent news indicates potentially otherwise. And so I think it has really removed from their arsenal an important weapon. I don't see them using it to much effect this time around. I think what they're going to do, though, is to hammer home the kinds of narrative that things are really collapsing. They're going to take, for example, the pains and the sufferings that Jamaicans have been feeling, particularly now coming out of burial, and sort of crystallize and concretize that, concentrate it in a way that causes them to feel as though Jamaica's government over the last 6 or so years, almost 8 years now, has been doing a horrible job. So I think you're going to get a lot of that negative narrative and characterization of the administration as being not just corrupt but also incompetent. I think, though, that they will also necessarily have to present some policy prescriptions. So a lot of the concerns surrounding the People's National Party and their rhetoric on the political platform up until now has been, it's a lot of negative narrative, but not enough clear, calculated policy prescriptions. And when they do so, they even come into some criticisms, because sometimes the policy prescriptions are outlandish. Maybe some people argue fiscally irresponsible and threatening the economy at large. So I want to have the PNP come this time around with clear delineations of what it is that they would do were they to wrest power from the Jamaica Labour Party, particularly given the fact that the polls are trending in their favour. The JLP has suffered some significant hits of late, many of those hits inflicted by the People's National Party. So my particular focus is to hear what exactly is the, if you will, the manifesto prescriptions that they are coming with.
Jermaine, something has been playing on my mind since Nationwide made this report public, and I question, why is it that the government didn't jump ahead to reconvene Parliament to put this report out, especially in a sense, it would vindicate the Prime Minister. And also the report from the Observer, which indicated that there are 5 individuals from the People's National Party who are being investigated for illicit enrichment. Wouldn't it serve the purpose of the JLP and the government to put this forward before the conference of the People's National Party?
There's a trend that I've detected with how Andrew Holness administers his political affairs. He tends not to rush to, sort of save the People's National Party from the wrong messaging that they oftentimes articulate. I think this is one such instance. He's having them, allowing them to go longer and intensify the rhetoric. And then, at the appropriate time when the Parliament is supposed to be convened, I imagine he and his administration will reveal to the people of Jamaica, aided by the report itself, what the realities are, what the truth is. I think if they were to have called Parliament and so forth, it would seem as though they are heeding the demands of not just the media and civil society, but certainly the People's National Party. And so I think it's a weird way of them exhibiting some control over the situation even now, to say, listen, we will resolve this in our time. You can go on battling about your own narratives, wrong though they are, misguided, misinformed as though they may be. We will reveal the information at the appropriate time, in the appropriate context. And I think the PNP would love to know exactly what the facts are leading into their conference. Because the truth is, if they knew precisely what the facts are, then they would effectively know precisely what the narrative is that they are going to be exposing at the conference. Now there's a bit of uncertainty that I think may be kind of throwing them off and potentially benefiting the Jamaican Labour Party at this time. I think the JLP may be wanting that kind of uncertainty.
Dr. Nadine Spence, do you share that view? Do you feel that after hitching their car to the corrupt government bandwagon for the better part of 2-3 years now, that the PNP is going to quickly abandon that narrative now at the final hour ahead of their annual conference? Or do you think they can still find some way to weave that narrative going into Sunday?
I think if you and I have been reading the same releases and hearing the same conversations, you're going to I see 3 things happening. One, what the PNP is saying is the report isn't out yet. Let us wait on the report. Mm-hmm. Secondly, they're also saying if this is true, that what has been leaked in the press, then they are going to blame the Integrity Commission, and they are going to defend their position that none of their people are being investigated, and that if they are being investigated, then they are being investigated because people are being mischievous. A lot of what they have been saying is what the government actually, the Jamaican Labour Party actually said earlier, but they are going to be doubling down on it and using the same arguments to defend themselves. I think what might happen is that we should now ask, if there's a way that we could read how Jamaicans now respond to the information now that this particular story is out there, is perhaps what would be the most salient talking point, not what will come from their platform, because they are in a pickle. This has been a week that has been in favor of the JLP. If we were to do a who won, who lost, it would be that the PNP lost and the JLP won. That would be the week in news so far, right? And it would happen in a week when the PNP is going to their final conference before the next general election. It doesn't look good on them, but I don't know that they're going to posture that way. Mm-hmm. I don't know that they can posture that way. In many ways, one could say that the scaffolding that they had put around their party in terms of the narrative they're putting forward has crumbled. So if you are in the PNP war room now, I guess they're thinking, what is the narrative? And I agree with Jermaine that they're going to be continuing the one that says the country is not being run properly, the regular economic narrative, but I don't know, that narrative doesn't play well from a conference platform. It doesn't, yeah.
I think if I may just add a point here.
Go ahead.
I think there are few things, as much as the week has not gone in their favor, there are few things that they may want to use to hammer home and hammer the Prime Minister about. The fact that the Prime Minister chose acting out of political expediency, seemingly, called the by-elections rather in Northeast St. Anne a day after the Member of Parliament had resigned, while the southern Trelawney constituency remains leaderless and without representation, and several other divisions within the island at the municipal level. And so, again, they're going to want to spin that as being a Prime Minister who really don't care about the people except acting out of his own sort of benefit.
But you have to agree. You have to agree that the veracity of that, the believability of that has taken a hit. The amount of people who would listen to that from the PNP last week compared to the amount of people who would listen to that from the PNP this week. The amount of people who would have been playing a wait-and-see game for the IC reports, that has dwindled. And there are a lot more people who are viewing their particular narrative with skepticism. I was listening to an online something that somebody sent to me earlier this morning about this whole business of the elections and whether or not the PNP can own the moral higher ground on this. Or is it that parties do this when they need a political strategy? And the person was saying, the JLP can't hold the moral higher ground on this because they've done the same thing when it was necessary. So I think that will work for people whose political memory is short.
Jermaine, I understand that we have to let you go at 6:55.
I could stay on at 2 or so more minutes.
Okay, then let me use you while we still have you. So, Mr. Barrett, you spoke to the messaging of the People's National Party now to essentially at this point they need to present a actual alternative to the Jamaican Labour Party in terms of policies and future governance. Do you see that now coalescing, and do you believe that by it's not coalescing, it's hurting the PNP, considering they're focused on other messaging thus far?
Yes, and one of the things that people who study politics and how people respond to political messaging will tell you that the dystopian sort of Armageddon kind of rhetoric only works to an extent. People have evidence of how the economy has performed. And, of course, they also have evidence about the struggles and pains of their own lives. I think people are now tired of the kind of characterization of the political and administration, economic administration of the country as being just doom and gloom. People want hope. I draw reference to the Donald Trump versus Kamala sort of scenario. Polar opposite. Donald Trump, everything is like the man talking about, immigrants eating cats and dogs and so forth. That kind of almost zombie movie kind of scenario. The PNP cannot continue to preach that kind of messaging. They need to come now with something that gives hope, aspiration, and confidence in their capacity to lead. Nothing else will suffice.
Well, let me flip it then, because Dr. Spence and we all understand the politics, and part of the need for conference is to energize your base. They are the ones who will be there, and you have to have them going back out in the field, feeling energized to sell the message. Wouldn't it be necessary then for Mark Golding and the others within the party to continue on that rhetoric of the Prime Minister's statutory declaration, the illicit 6, which is now 8, to have the members energized, going back out in the field to try and win the campaign for them?
It's good talking points for the loyals. But, I don't know. People are going to hear it. And people are going to hear it, even those who are loyal PNP supporters. And it's not going to ring true for them anymore. Remember, it's not just this, Mark Golding's credibility has taken a big beating as well with the whole issue of his citizenship. And it has been So it has been constant since about when? When did that story break? And it occupied our attention for a very long time, till he eventually had to say he will give up his British citizenship. And I think sometime this week I saw where him and Julian Robinson have said that they are no longer British citizens. I remember that took his credibility took a beating from that, and the way he was caricatured in social media, and the way people put his credibility on show. It's not just one thing; it's several things. So among the ranks of PNP supporters, again, remember one of the things we always talk about with the PNP is, are they now a team? And I get the feeling that there are cracks in the monolith. That the story of Mark Golding as the leader who would unite the party, that story is cracking, and that perhaps going to conference are some cynics who do not necessarily believe that he and Dayton Campbell are doing a good job of holding the party together. I mean, they're trying their hardest to ensure that no other story emerges in the public, but you get the feeling that there is some disquiet there among some of those who are now saying that the center isn't holding. So I think there are a whole lot of things that it's not just what has happened this week. It's a number of other issues that have emerged. And there, we have to. It's difficult to predict exactly, but I get the feeling that there has been some kind of shift in how people are receiving the message from them, even their own supporters.
Dr. Spence, I'd like to put this to you. I don't know if we still have you, Mr. Barrett. Are you there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, well, I'll put it to you first and then to Dr. Spence. As you may have heard recently, Dr. Dayton Campbell has essentially said he'd welcome Adidja Palmer, that's Vibes Cartel, to the annual conference this Sunday. Good luck or bad luck for the People's National Party for Mr. Palmer to show up to that event?
It's an act of populism. It's an act that I personally don't think is appropriate, given a lot of what he stands for and represents. But that's a personal view that I share, and I, like all Jamaicans, reserve the right to hold my view. I think the PNP needs to stand for something better. We're a country that is beleaguered with violence and lawlessness and indiscipline. And I think the message that the PNP needs to bring is one of leadership, not just pandering to the masses, not just seeking votes, but kind of the message that says, listen, Jamaica, we have given serious thought and consideration to what is required to push Jamaica to the next level. And these are what we are bringing to you here. I don't think Adidja Palmer is a part of that holistic, positive developmental messaging that's required now for Jamaica.
Thank you for staying with us, Mr. Barrett. I'm being told to properly release you from our platform. Have a good evening.
Good, bye-bye.
And Dr. Spence, your take?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I agree it's a populist move, but it might draw crowds, and I think, as you said, it's the PNP conference. They want numbers, they want it to look vibesy, they want it to look energetic, they want it to look as if the base is ready, so it might fulfill that objective. I don't know that it will get them any votes, but it might lead to them having if he turns up, a really energetic, eye-catching conference. That's as far as I see it going. But usually, I think that's what conferences do. They kind of show the competition, what the PNP, what the party that is having conference, what they're flexing their political muscles. I guess. So I guess it could help them to do that, to flex their muscles. But I think it might confuse the messaging even more.
That is political commentator Dr. Nadine Spence, and we were also joined by public commentator and founder of executive director of Jamaican Association for Debating and Empowerment, Jade Limited, Jermaine Barrett. Thank you both for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Spence.
Have a good evening, both. Bye-bye.
You too.
More after this break.
Nation's Business was brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Guilty. Outperform, outlast. Guilty. We top performance. Guilty. Jackama. Reliable. Full stop, not comma. We have the expertise for drilling and demolition. We have the power tools for plumbers and electricians. Pan select tools, free parts and free repairs. Free parts, free repairs. 2 to 3 years. Hilton, available at Delta Supply, 106 Hagley Park Road. Call us at 876-302-61114. Delta Supply, we service what we sell.
On Sunday, August 11th, in the quiet community of Cherry Tree Lane in Clarendon, our entire nation was shaken by a brutal act of violence.
Gangsters mercilessly took the lives of 8 innocent Jamaicans, including a 7-year-old boy and several women.
These criminals will strike again, destroying more families and more communities unless we stand together to stop them.
If you have any information that can help bring these killers to justice, please share it with the security forces.
The government has established a reward fund of $25 million for information leading to the arrest and charge of the perpetrators who committed this heinous act.
The facilitators who supplied them with arms, intelligence and transportation.
Those who harbor and protect these criminals after the crime.
If you know something, say something.
Call Crime Stop at 311 MOCA at 888-6622-847.
NIB at 811 or the JDN at 837-8888.
Together, we will defeat the gangs and develop a culture of peace in our country.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Ministry of National Security.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Noragay Banton, weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
While Gilbert. Well, Gilbert, you're gone. No, we can chat behind your back. While Gilbert want to come in my room, me sweep out some with me broom. The liquor dog love to see such fun, and the dish you run away with. Come now. Who no see me dish? Anybody who no see me satin like this?
The famous tune there by Lloyd Lavender, While Gilbert. Yes, listeners, this is the 36th anniversary of the passing of Hurricane Gilbert, one of the most devastating natural disasters to strike Jamaica. On September 12, 1988, the Category 5 storm swept across the island, leaving a trail of destruction that reshaped both the physical landscape and the collective memory of the nation. With sustained winds reaching 145 miles per hour and gusts of up to 175 miles per hour, it remains the most powerful hurricane to ever hit Jamaica.
The storm flattened home, tore up crops, and disrupted daily lives for months. Much of the island's infrastructure was destroyed, with entire communities reduced to rubble. Power lines were down, roads blocked by debris, and Jamaica's agricultural industry, particularly banana and sugarcane, was decimated.
Hurricane Gilbert also claimed 45 lives on the island. Well, recovery efforts, though challenging, showcased the indomitable will of Jamaicans to rebuild in the face of adversity, led by then Prime Minister Edward Seaga. Well, this evening we're going down memory lane, and we asked some of our listeners to recount the moment Hurricane Gilbert made landfall.
Wow, speaking about Hurricane Gilbert right now, some fear comes up on me. I remember 1988, I was living in Thompson Town, Clarendon. I was alone with 2 girls, 3 and 5 years old, and we were alone together in the house. The morning when Hurricane Gilbert came, my God, the roof came off, the back of the door came off. I didn't know what to do. I was crying out for help, and a good next door neighbor came over and he had to force the door. And we had to hold down the door for him to nail back the door on. And immediately after that, the section of the kitchen, everything came down. The roof came down. Man, it was horrible. You know, even before, from the Sunday evening, it started from the Sunday evening when we see this thick cloud coming over in the sky, and we say, Lord have mercy, you know. And it was horrible. Honestly, it was horrible. Up to now, it brings fear to me. And a particular pear tree was in the yard. And 2 persons were quarreling over the pear tree who was going to get it this year because the pear tree bearing a man. And my God, the pear tree, when Gilbert came, the pear tree tear up everything that even a pear was left on it. You know, and we saw zinc just fastening at the trees there. You know, the library was above me and every zinc came off. All trees got down. It was horrible. It was horrible. My first baby was just barely 7 weeks old. When I hear the rain, the 12th of September 88, I turned to my dad and I said, Papa, this storm really a come? Papa said, yes, my daughter, this storm coming. Then I said, Papa, what me I gonna do with my baby if the house stop blow off? And he said, my daughter, run a one in neighbor house where you see this house stop no come off. When the rain start to fall, I sit on my bed and I'm looking out. I said, the house stop lift and go back down, lift and go back down. Papa said, grab your baby and run. I grabbed my baby and I grabbed my father hat off my head and I run. While I was running, the hat blew off of my head. I didn't turn to look back for the hat. I run straight with my 7 weeks old baby. And I stay at this house for about 2 weeks. When we go back up at our house, it was a disaster. Bed wet, dresser wet, everything wet.
Prior to the day of the hurricane, I packed my little things. I left country, went to Portmore with the hope of entering the Shortwood Teachers College. So we journeyed into Kingston. I stayed over Portmore, and the plan was for me to go up to Shortwood Monday morning for 8 o'clock. Unfortunately, Hurricane Gilbert came that Sunday. And so while at Portmore, they were going around saying that we're to expect storm surge and they were advising persons to leave. So Uncle Paul had to leave. We ventured into Kingston. We stayed at a daycare center at the time. That's a daycare center his daughter was attending, and the owner allowed us to stay. The hurricane came in the night. You could just hear the wind and the trees. There was a mango tree on the compound and it fell on the building. The next morning we ventured back to Portmore. There were lots of power lines down, and so we had to be very careful. Just total devastation. There was no way to get in touch with anybody back in Mandeville, and so my mother was here in Mandeville fretting, and I was in Portmore fretting about them. I ended up staying in Portmore for about 2 weeks because there was no way for me to get back home. Portmore.
There you have it, a vox pop of quite a few people reminiscing about Gilbert and its passage over Jamaica back in 1988. I would have just been a few months old at that time. I think I was told by my mother that she stuffed me in a barrel, when the hurricane passed over in order to protect me. I still think back on that. Well, we're now being joined by the Principal Director of the Meteorological Service of Jamaica, Evan Thompson, and Director of the Disaster Risk Reduction Center at the University of the West Indies, and former Director General of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, Dr. Barbara Carby. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, good evening, all.
Hi, Evan.
Let's start with you, Dr. Carby. Gilbert was truly a life-changing moment for the country, and I would say that on the basis of that storm alone, a lot has changed. A lot of lessons were learned in terms of building practices and proper risk management after Hurricane Gilbert passed through Jamaica, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Before I go to that, though, I'm actually now retired director of the DRRC.
Oh, retired. Thank you for that clarification.
Yes. Okay. Yes. In fact, after Hurricane Gilbert, after the initial relief efforts were over and we began now looking at recovery, there was training for artisans, carpenters, masons, and so on, in safe roofing practices. And in fact, a handbook was produced, I remember, which simplified the code, the building code, with diagrams and so on, showing how roofs should be attached, how cladding, zinc sheeting or aluminum sheeting should be attached, and so on. So there was quite a drive to ensure that the necessary knowledge was available for the reconstruction efforts in terms of housing to be properly done.
Mm-hmm. And Evan Thompson, from where you sit, if my memory serves me correct, you were relatively new at the Met Office when Gilbert hit. Talk to me about your experience during that time.
I agree, yes. Actually, you are correct. I had just started working at the Meteorological Service on the first day of September. And then, of course, Hurricane Gilbert was on the 12th. And it so happened that on the morning of the 12th, I was actually picked up by the transport that would normally take us to work, taken out to the airport. We knew that a hurricane was coming, but of course, there had to be a number of persons on hand at the airport working during this hurricane. So I was one of the lucky people who got initiated into this while working at the Met Service just under 2 weeks. But it was quite an eye-opening experience. I think a baptism by fire, because I was engulfed in something that I had never seen before in my life. I did experience previous to that passage of some hurricanes not too far from Jamaica and experiencing some of the wind and some rain from them. But of course, this was the first time that one was moving across the island that, I was actually being a part of. But where we are located, though, at the airport where our office is, we would normally be kind of encapsulated in an area, protected, which we wouldn't have been able to see very much happening on the outside. So although we were in there and there are glass windows, those were protected by sheets on the outside that would be bolted so that it would not damage the glass and all that with the flying debris. So we didn't really see much, peeking through some areas to see what was outside. So
You're breaking up, Evan. We're hardly hearing you.
Oh, okay.
Much better. We're hearing you now.
Yes, I was saying that we were somewhat encapsulated in that area with the.
It seems that we're losing you, Sir Tomlinson.
Not hearing me clearly.
Now we're hearing you clearly. Please try to continue.
Okay, right. So we were not able to see very much of what was happening on the outside because, we were closed off by some aluminum sheets. So we were just barely able to peek through some areas to see some of the movement. But communication generally was limited because, of course, there were no cell phones being operated at that time. We had to use the landline. Communication with the ODPEM was possible.
Mm-hmm. You're breaking up again. Maybe we just need to try and reconnect with Evan because we're not hearing him clearly at all.
Okay.
But let me move to Dr. Kirby, because when you match where we're coming from in terms of Gilbert and the most recent hurricane that passed over near to the island, how do you think that we have made some advances to learn from the past to ensure that we're doing well or better as we would? That's for Dr. Kirby.
Made advances in several areas. One very important area is that of forecasting and warning. So for Gilbert, the Met Office didn't actually have access to all this fancy satellite imagery that is available now over the internet. We use the sort of commercial radio for warnings to the public, but our radio system, our emergency radio system, was really rather limited to one or two channels. And then what happened was that the towers on which the repeaters, which would carry the signal for the radio system, some of those towers came down So even the emergency radio system was affected. And of course, as Evan says, there were no mobile phones to speak of then. So forecasting, alerting, warning, and communications have really come a long way. What is good is that now the public, the general public, has access to all this information on hurricanes, which they can get off the internet. There are websites such as OddPem, which they can go to and get information. So the public is far better informed now than they would have been in 1988. I think after 1988 also, we began paying more attention to enforcement of the building code. So the structures were built back stronger, many of them. And I think going on from there, out of that then came eventually the update of the building code. So we now have the updated building code, which would have started at about that time. And the whole emergency response system now is really much stronger than it was then. We have a much better developed volunteer system. Community disaster response teams and so on have been put in place. Community flood warning systems have been put in place. Some of those existed before Gilbert, but they were strengthened coming out of Gilbert. Because one thing Gilbert taught us was that the more decentralized the emergency response system is, the better. If you can place that knowledge and skills in the community, it allows the community members to help themselves. Because one can't always be sure that official assistance will be able to come in after the event. So you do that transfer of knowledge to community level, and it really makes the entire system much stronger.
Evan Thompson, I understand we have you back with us?
Yes, I'm here. I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear. Yeah. So, Mr. Thompson, tell me, we've had several storms pass near Jamaica since Gilbert back in 1988. Beryl just quite recently, a Category 4